Chafches Amid Beis by Silas Abeged, some new Mishnah.
Should mute everyone.
Oh. And we're learning Bezos Hashem tomorrow's Daf right now. So this is the Daf for Shabbos. On Sunday, hopefully we'll be sort of caught up. And then we'll try to get ahead for next week because we're missing 3 days next week. Okay. The Mishnah says, Psilas Abeged Shekipla. A wick. It's a piece of cloth that you folded over. But you didn't singe it. We used to have a whole discussion every week in my house. If in Chabad, if you singe the wicks before, if you light them and blow them out. I don't think that discussion never ended. So, okay. The tradition was that you lit the wicks Erev Shabbos and then you blew them out. And then when the husband always sets up the candles, he would light them and blow them out. And then the wife would light them and they'd already be easy to catch on fire. That was a traditional, that was a minhag. So anyway, here there was a wick. It wasn't singed. It was a piece of cloth that was folded. I see those nice wicks over there. Rabbi Eliezer Omer Tmeyahi Vein Madlikim Ba. Rabbi Eliezer says that the wicks are tamei, and you can't use them for lighting. Why? The Gemara is going to need to discuss a complicated answer. Why you can't use tummy wicks? It's extremely complex, and it may not even have to do with tumah. Whatever the case is, it's a wick, and it's a cloth. So Rabbi Eliezer says it's tummy. Rabbi Kiva Materi Madlikim, but Rabbi Kiva says that it's tahar, and you could light with it. Okay. The Gemara says Bishlam Alinian Tumah Bahapligi. The machlekes regarding tumah is a very easy machlekes to explain. It goes like this: the Rabbi Eliezer Savar Kipalein Mayel. Folding doesn't affect anything. So it's still considered a garment. What did you do? You had a cloth. You folded it over. You made it like thinner so it could protrude a little bit from the lamp. So the fact that you folded it doesn't take away its size, and its original size is still contained in there. So therefore it's still a beged until you light it. But until it's still a beged. Okay, so if it's still a beged, then it could be makabel tumah. We had a whole discussion, what size, what's a beged. Maybe we're talking about linen or wool, and it's 3 by 3 fingers or something. Rabbi Kiva Savar, Kipo Mayel. Rabbi Kiva says, no, folding it is taking away from its size. Ubituli batal. And therefore, it loses its size once you fold it. So it's not makabel tumah because it's not a beged anymore. Well, there's a whole, I don't know if it's an excuse or an explanation. You see in Chabad, I believe the Alter Rebbe holds that the garment of tzitzis needs to be a complete amma, the cross an amma. So if it's folded, it could possibly lose its shear. So to be yotze the mitzvah properly, it should be a full beged, it should be an amma, unfolded. So you don't want it to crinkle. So they would wear always they called it a bendel. They would wear it's like a little elastic or a small gartel under the shirt that should hold the tzitzis in place. That shouldn't fold. You have a string. Anyway, it could be that they would leave the tzitzis hanging out, the shirt hanging out, the tzitzis hanging out would be because they wanted to always make sure that it wasn't folded over. And that would be an explanation why you see sometimes people aren't tucked in. That could be a halachic explanation. They can tuck in, and because it holds it probably better if it's tucked in, but that could be an origin for that. Okay, we're talking about folding if it loses a shear when it's folded. Ella l'inyan hadlaka b'may pligi, but what does this have to do with lighting it as a wick? Amar Rabbi Elazar Amar Rabbi Shia, China Amar Rabbi Barava. Rabbi Elazar says in the name of Rabbi Shia, and Rabbi Barava also says, Hacha begimel mitzvah tamas askinan. Okay, we're going to need like several introductions to get to what the issue is right here. It's like four concepts. The first is that first thing that we need to accept is that this garment, this beged that's being used as a wick, is exactly the size, is exactly the minimal size of a garment. It means it's about to lose its share of a beged once it's lit. Now this is called the daichik. The daichik in yeshiva, when you say this is a daichik answer, is when you have a case or a halacha that could be applicable anytime, but then you now limit it to once a year. So it's like you're squeezing it into a specific scenario that usually isn't the case. So we learned the Mishnah. The Mishnah says that types of wick that you're allowed to use. Comes along the Gemara, Rabbi Barava says that Mishnah. First of all, it's a very small wick. It's just a minimal size of a beged. Second of all, it's only dealing with Erev Shabbos that happens to be also Yom Tov. Because we just diminished the relevance of this Mishnah to that one Erev Shabbos that happens to be Yom Tov, like next week. And we also have to say the Kuli Alma Islahu de Rabbi Yehuda. Everyone agrees to Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. Damar Mesikin Bekalim ve'Mesikin B'Shivri Kalim. Rabbi Yehuda has this opinion regarding the rules of it has to do with Noilad. What happens here? It's to do with muktzah. Kalim are vessels, are utensils. Now, if I have a keli, I can move it around. I can do with it what I like, because it's a utensil. But let's say the keli breaks on Yom Tov, so it goes from a keli to a non-keli. Now it doesn't have a use anymore. So, or maybe it has some sort of new use. Whatever the case is, that use wasn't designated before Yom Tov because this just happened right now. So because it wasn't designated for the whatever new use that you're going to have for it, whether it's burning it or whatever, so it's considered noilad. In noilad is muktzah, just like an egg that's laying on Yom Tov. It's muktzah because it just came. So too, this item that just broke on Yom Tov is muktzah. So shivrei kalim, broken kalim, it's only broken kalim that broke on Yom Tov. If it broke on Yom Tov, then it would be muktzah. Okay. And you also have to accept that everyone is agreeing over here to the statement of Ula. Ula is our traveler. That when you light the candles, you have to light the majority of the wick that's sticking out. Okay. So what's going to happen here? Now we have to go explain what's going on. We have four introductions for this Mishnah to fit. It's a very small wick. It's exactly 3 by 3. It's Shabbos. It's Erev Shabbos, which happens to be Yom Tov as well. We have to accept the fact that something that broke on Yom Tov you can't light, and you also have to light most of the wick. So it goes like this. Rabbi Eliezer Savar Keep Elena Mayel. Rabbi Eliezer says, well, you folded it, it's still a beged. Folding it doesn't take away the shear. However, once you light it a little bit, so you just broke it. Okay. Now shever kalim, I'm not allowed to burn on Yom Tov. Now you also have to accept one more point. The last point, Ula's point, is that you have to be involved with the wick until most of the wick is burned. So first you break it by burning it a little bit, and then you have to continue lighting it. You can't just walk away from it. if you could just walk away from it, then you lit the whole keli, which that was allowed. It's going to burn later. That's not your issue. Here we're saying that you have to be a dayim, continue to light the broken keli, which you just broke. That you're not allowed to do. So the whole issue is continuing to light the extension, the wick that's extended out of the net. There's a bunch of introductions. It comes out this complicated issue, which when you looked at the Mishnah, it sounded like it had to do with Hilchas Tumah. You're not allowed to use tummy wicks. It comes out that there's one law of Tumah, and that law happens to tell me if it's a vessel or not. And then in Madlikin Ma, because it happens to be Yom Tov. Okay. Rabbi Akiva Savar, Kipul Mayel. Rabbi Akiva says once you folded it, it's already not a beged. So you folded it, this was prepared to be a wick. You folded it probably Erev Yom Tov. You're just lighting a piece of wood. It was never a vessel. So you're allowed to light with it because the folding of it, which you did earlier, already makes it ois keli. It's not a vessel anymore, so there's no problem. Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef adds a point to this. He says, Hainu de Tanina, oh, this is what we learned in the Mishnah or Braisa. Gimel al Gimel mitzmitzames. We said that this Mishnah is referring to, it's 3 by 3 exactly. I never knew. Why does it have to say that this Mishnah is 3 by 3 exactly? Could be larger than 3 by 3. It says, okay. So we know why it says 3 by 3, based on the answer of Ravada Barava, that you're taking it out from being a vessel by starting to light it, and then you can't continue lighting it. Okay. The only thing is that the fact that Ravada Barava explains the Mishnah according to Rabbi Yehuda, it must be that Rabbi Yehuda is the way he goes, that we do have an issue of Nailad, where it does become muktzah, anything that's changed its form on Yom Tov becomes muktzah, from a keli to a non-keli, or the other way, and that's a problem. It must be that Ravada Barava holds Rabbi Yehuda, because that's the way he explained the Mishnah. The problem is, does Ravada Barava really hold like Rabbi Yehuda? Ravada Barava says differently. He says, Nachri shechoka kav bebikas Yisrael. If a Jew has a block of wood, and a non-Jew on the block of wood carves out a kav, which is a type of vessel, created this vessel, it's carving wood, created this vessel on Yom Tov. Mesika be Yom Tov. We say that the Jew is allowed to burn this on Yom Tov. Whoa, that's quite a statement. That means that he has no concern with Nailad. It's not muktzah, or muktzah would apply that it's muktzah, you can't even burn it. So, v'may Nailadu, it's Nailad. That should be a problem. The Gemara, because of this, says, L'divreim de Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Kiva kamalei v'lei le'svirlei. Well, we're going to have to say that Ravada Barava doesn't really hold of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda is the one that holds of this issue of Mesikin Bekalem and Mesikin Shivri Kalem. That's his concern. Ravada Barava doesn't hold of that. Ravada Barava just used that to explain the opinion of Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Kiva because they hold of it. He himself doesn't go with that. Which Tana does he go with? There was Machlekes, I think Reb Shimon is the other opinion. He goes with the other opinion. Okay. Rava Amar, Rava says, Hainu taima de Rabbi Elazar, lefishim madlikim bepsila sheina mechorechas, v'lei besamartutin sheina mechorachet. Rava says that our issue over here is not so complicated. It's much more simple. It has to do with if you're supposed to light the wicks before Shabbos. It would be covered Shabbos, that the wicks are ready, they're burnt a little bit, so they catch on right away. And it's machlekes Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Kiva if you're supposed to light them before. Rabbi Lezer holds that you're supposed to light them, and Rabbi Kiva holds that you're not. Interesting Tosfos over here. In Tosfos in Rava, on the top Tosfos, first he switches the girsa. It's over here, it's supposed to be Rava, because later on we're going to have Rava explaining something else. But whatever the case is, then he, on the first line, the first thin line, he says, it's a waste of time. People are lighting their wicks before Shabbos. He says, according to which opinion? Are you doing that for Rabbi Eliezer? Rabbi Eliezer Shamuti. Rabbi Eliezer is a follower of either Beishamai or he's in Cherem. You don't have to go like that. Interesting. Our discussions that we would always have was, did the Rebbe light the wicks before Shabbos, in his house, or were they lit before, and then, and then put out and then relit? Okay. Ella had the Tanya.
Answer on that. What was the answer on that? Did they?
Oh,
the Rebbe...
I don't know. We kept getting answers this way, that way, and I don't know.
Yunik probably found out. Someone found out.
Right.
Okay, so what did they do in your house?
So originally we always lit, and then put it out, and then someone told us that that's not the minhag in Chabad, so we stopped doing it. But I'm not sure if that was really conclusive. That could be, I told you about the refrigerator. We used to always wait for the engine to go on in the refrigerator before we open the door. And then, I don't know, we stopped doing that. But then someone told me that in the Rebbe's house, there was a towel in the refrigerator that didn't let the door close all the way. So, on Shabbos. So, I don't know. But I don't see anyone doing that either. Okay. Ella, so here we have a machlekes between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Akiva if the wicks need to be lit before Shabbos. It's that simple. Ella had the Tani Rabbi Yosef Gimel Mitzitzamas my Hilchas. So well, so then what did Rabbi Yosef quoted that this brisa that our Mishnah is referring to, that it's exactly 3 by 3. That was a good explanation, according to Rav Ada Barava, that you were taking it out of being a Eily once you lit it, and you had to continue lighting it. All of that fit perfectly. So what is that relevant for? L'inyan Tumah. That's regarding Tumah. The Tanan, because it was taught in the Mishnah, Gimel Shamer Chutz Min Amalal, Divrei Reb Shimon, V'chachamim Gimel Chavanis. There's a discussion regarding a cloth that has an edge to it, where it wasn't made into you're going to put the hem, you're going to fold it over and make it into a hem, because the hem was for when the cloth is woven. It goes, the end pieces are just going to fall out. So what you do is you fold it over to stop that. Now, those pieces that are sticking out, is that considered the size of the cloth or not? So you're going to fold it over. So there's a machlekes over here. When it says 3 by 3, does it include those little protruding pieces of cloth, pieces of string, of thread that are sticking out that are not yet folded over? Because you're going to fold it over. So Rabbi Yosef quotes this. He says that Reb Shimon holds chutz min hamalal, that the 3 by 3 needs to be without the hem. The Chum say that 3 by 3 is including even including those pieces. Okay, so what does that have to do with our Mishnah? I don't know what that has to do with our Mishnah with making wicks. What that would just tell me is that Gimel al Gimel Mitzimtzamais maybe is telling me the opinion of the Chachamim that it doesn't need to be longer. It doesn't need to be the size of 3 by 3, including it doesn't need to be 3 by 3 without the pieces sticking out. It's just telling me that halacha. It really doesn't have to do with our Mishnah. That has to do with Hilchos Tumah. All right. Okay. So what's going to happen here is that if we explain it like Rabbi Barava, then the laws of Tumah and the laws of Madlikin are very connected. If we explain it like Rava, then we have different halachas here. We have a law of Tumah. That's the size of the beged. Folding does that affect. And then we have another law that you have to scorch you have to singe the wicks, which is not connected to Tumah. Okay, now we're going to go back to explain something that we mentioned. Amar Rav Yehuda Marav. Rav Yehuda says in the name of Rav, this machlaikas, which is masikin bekelim vein masikin b'shivri kelim. You can use utensils, which a keli could also mean a garment, or any sort of utensil to light. You can burn it on Yom Tov, but you can't use a vessel that broke on Yom Tov to light. Div Rabbi Yehuda, that's Rabbi Yehuda's opinion, because he holds Naila, there's an issue with that, of Muktzah. Reb Shimon Matter, Reb Shimon says there's no problem at all. He doesn't hold of Muktzah, and it's perfectly fine, even though it wasn't designated for this use before Yom Tov. Masikim b'tmarim. You can take a date and burn it. Why? On Yom Tov. Well, if you're allowed to eat it, you're allowed to burn it. It's not talking about baltashches. It's talking about if it's muktzah. Well, it's not muktzah because you could eat it. Achlan, but let's say you ate it. Now, ein masikin begari neyam. You can't throw the pit into the fire. Why? Because the pit just appeared now. The pit was as if it didn't exist before. Originally it was a date, but now it's a broken date, right? So you can't. So you can't burn that anymore because this happened on Yom Tov. It's noilad. Div Rabbi, the Reb Shimon Mat. Reb Shimon says there's no problem with that. There's no laws of muktzah. Masikim be'goyzim. You can burn a walnut. Why? Because if you can eat it, you can burn it. Achlan. But if you ate it, now imasikim be'klipei seyam. You can't burn the shells of the walnuts. Div Rabbi Yehuda and Reb Shimon Mater. Okay, all these cases are the same. The Gemara explains it's shricha, but they're all necessary to state individually because otherwise we wouldn't have understood one from the other. The Yashmin and Kamaisa, because if we would only said the first halacha, Bahikam Rabbi Yehuda, that halacha we would have said, okay, the mikara keli v'ashta shever keli. When it's dealing with the vessels, you're allowed to burn it. Well, first it was a keli and now it's broken. Avalei noilad. So noilad, it's something that appeared in a new form on Yom Tov v'aser. Aval tamarim demi kara garina v'ashta garinim. Aha, by a date. The fact is that the pit was inside the date before you ate the date. You didn't create a new item here. It was always there. You could say that according to Rabbi Yehuda, you're allowed to burn it because it was there originally. So that's why Rabbi Yehuda Marav quotes to us that this machlekes is applying to the date pit as well. Biyashmin and garinim, if it would tell us about the pits, Havamina de mikara machasin v'hashta migalin. Say, well, over there, you couldn't see it before. It was covered. So therefore, once you uncover it, well, you have a new item. Aval klipi agoizim de mikara migalu. However, walnut shells, the shell is on the outside. That was there before. That was visible. V'hashta miglu. And now it's the mikara miglu v'hashta miglu. They were originally there before. There was originally there revealed, and now it's revealed as well. Ema shaperdami, I could say that I could use the walnut shells. So no, so that's why he has to tell me that that the walnut shells are also aser. Okay. It's that whole Kabbalistic discussion of on Tu B'Shvat, the different types of fruits, where the pits are, if they're inside, if they're outside, where the waste of the fruit is, inside the fruit or outside the fruit, which world it corresponds to, where the klipa is, if the klipa is outside it or inside. Okay. Now the Gemara says that this halacha that Rav is telling us, Rav didn't say it clearly. We derived it from an occurrence, from something that happened. This is very common for the Gemara to do with Rav. The Rav, Achal Tamri, Rav ate dates, and he threw the pits into the oven. It was a weekday. Okay. So Amalei Reb Chia Bar Pachti, Reb Chia calls his nephew Bar Pachti, son of great people, which happens to be his brother and his sister, because Rab's father and mother were both brother and sister of Reb Chia, not brother and sister of each other, but brother and sister of Reb Chia because there was a step sister there. So they weren't originally related at all, but Reb Chia's both, they were both Reb Chia's siblings. So he says, son of great people, connect to be Yom Tov Aser. If you would try that on Yom Tov, that would be forbidden. Okay, so Reb Chia told it to him. Now, Kibla Minei or Kibla Minei, did Rav accept it? So Tashema, come and listen. The Chiyasa Rav Lebaval, see, Rav went with Reb Chia to Eretz Yisrael to learn with Rabbi. This story must have been in Eretz Yisrael. Then Rav comes to Bavel, and Achol Tamri v'shada kashaysa l'chayasa. Rav was eating dates, and he threw the pits to the animals. My love, the parsiyasa, v'lei kibla. Is it not that we're dealing with Persian dates? And apparently Persian dates, they get very ripe, and when you take the fruit off it, there's nothing left on the pit. So the pit is just a piece of wood, and it becomes like totally muktzah. So it must be that Rav held that they don't become muktzah, and you can throw it to the animals, or you can throw it to the fire. So Rav really didn't accept Reb Chia's halacha, and he doesn't hold of what he was saying before Rabbi Yehuda. The Gemara says, lie. That's not the case. When Rav came to Bavel, he wasn't eating Persian dates. He was eating be'armiyasa. He was eating those other dates. These are Aramean dates. They don't ripen so well. And there's a little bit of the food that's left on the pit. You can't really get it off. So it's difficult to eat the whole thing. And there was always a little bit that's left. So the animals, v'chazi agav imayo. Imayo means its mother, means its original. It's still considered edible because it has its original fruit still a little attached to the edge of it that he didn't eat it off. So it makes it that it's not muktzah. So we have no proof. So we don't have a proof what Rav really holds because of this story. We know what Reb Chia told him. We don't know if Rav accepted it. Okay. Amalei Reb Shmuel bar Chana l'Rav Yosef. Usually we have Rabba bar Chana. This is Shmuel bar Chana. says to Rav Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda damar masikin bekelim, vein masikin b'shivri kelim. He asks a very important question. We gave a whole complicated discussion, explanation of why you can't use these wicks on Shabbos, on Erev Shabbos, that happens to be Yom Tov. Why? Because when you're going to start to burn it, it's going to lose its status of a keli. And you're going to continue to keep lighting it. You're going to be lighting broken kelim on Yom Tov. Just 1 second. Whenever I burn kelim, how can you ever burn kelim on Yom Tov? Kivan da adlik b'purta, once you light it, havlu shivre kelim. What are you telling me? That you can light kelim? Every time you do it, you break it. Then when you have to adjust the flame, you take the wood and you turn it. They would, whatever they would put into the fire, if it was a keli, sometime throughout the fire, they turn it over. They're masik b'shivrei kelim. He's throwing a question in on the whole, this whole discussion. How does it work? The Gemara answers, or Rabbi Yosef answers, David kirav matana. Rav matana marav eitzim shnashim min hadekel l'taner b'yamtiv marbe eitzim b'chanim masikan. A very interesting discussion, especially in the smicha, in the Yeredeya sugyas. What's happening over here is that, yes, there's vessels in there. And the vessels, if they would be there alone, would actually be prohibited to adjust, to stoke the coals, to turn it over. However, those vessels aren't alone. There's other wood that's in there as well. So, and he quotes a statement from Rav Matana Marav. He says, let's say wood falls off a palm tree and falls directly into the oven. So you situated that perfectly. So the pieces fell down, they fell right into the oven. So when they fell off the tree, it was Yom Tif. You're allowed to make a fire on Yom Tif, but you're not allowed to burn that wood because that wood is Naila. He says, well, you can take your own wood that you had before, add it on top, and you can light the whole thing. And you're being mevatel et lechatchila. So in Yeredeya, this is a sugya called ein mevatel nesa lechatchila. Really, you're not allowed to be mevatel. You're not allowed to take something that's not kosher and just add more kosher food to it and make it batel. This is an exception. This is a rabbinic decree, and for rabbinic laws, you're allowed to be mevatel lechatchila. That's what comes out from this. Okay. Rav Hamnuna gives another answer to this whole discussion, and he says that we're dealing with something else. Rav Hamnuna Amar Hacha bepachas mishleisha al shleisha askinan. Shleisha al shleisha means we're dealing with the vessel with a cloth or a wick that's less than 3 by 3 tvachim. Umikuli matlani shanukan. Mikuli matlanies. It's a leniency regarding cloths. Or maybe it means that these are rags, mikuli matlanias. I'm not sure if it means, kuli means leniencies, or if it's meaning like the type of cloth that's insignificant. The kuli could mean that as well. I'm not sure what it means. I don't know. How does the art scroll translate that? Mikuli matlanias. Does it mean that it's rags, or does it mean that it's a leniency? Maybe matlanias means rags. And Makuli means leniency. Okay, whatever the case is, these cloths are less than 3 by 3 tfachim. Okay. And it's a special discussion here.
It says that it's matlanias, that it's not wood.
I didn't hear. It froze.
It
Tell me again.
says he's using smartutim, rags that are not worthy in his eyes. Hakalim be'einav.
Oh, okay. Okay, so insignificant rags.
Yeah.
Okay. V'az the Rabbi Eliezer l'tamei, and Rabbi Eliezer goes according to his reasonings. I'm sorry? Rabbi Eliezer goes according to his reasoning, and Rabbi Akiva l'tamei, and Rabbi Akiva goes according to his reasoning. We're going to get a different explanation here for what's going on in our Mishnah. Ditnan, it was started in the Mishnah. Pachas mishleisha al shleisha sheskino lefakik bayis amerchatz lanar bayis akder leknech bayis arichayim. If you have these cloths, they're shmatas, and you're using them, or you designated them, to plug up a hole in the bath, or to wipe out pots, or to clean the mill. You would use it to wipe the mill. Bein min hamuchan, bein she'eino min hamuchan. Whether they're prepared for that or not, it's tamei. Divrei Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer considers these significant. You have to figure out what he means. To figure out, you started off saying sheheskinu, that they're like designated for this purpose, and then we talk about hichinu, or bein min hamuchan or not. We have to put that into place, which the Gemara will do shortly. Anyway, Rabbi Eliezer says they're considered cloths. The shmatas are considered cloths. Rabbi Yeshua Aimer, bein min hamuchan, bein shlei min hamuchan, it's tar. Rabbi Yeshua says it's not a cloth. Rabbi Kiva Aimer min hamuchan tamei, shlei min hamuchan tar. Rabbi Kiva says it depends. If it's prepared, then it's tamei. If it's not prepared, it's tar. This throws me off a little bit because of. Okay, well, so first let's get the explanation. Ula says like this: Vitema Rabbi Bar Bachana Rabbi Yochanan. Some say it was Rabbi Bar Bachana that said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. Ula traveled, or it could be Rabbi Bar Bachana gave us the explanation, or it could be Ula brought it from Eretz Yisrael. Hakol Ma'adim, everyone agrees. Zarku ba'ashba divrei kol tar. As these cloths may have significance. It depends what you want to do with them. They're not the size that makes them into a cloth automatically. If you decide that you're going to use it for some purpose, then it's going to be a cloth. Like the rags, the shmatas in the house. It depends if you put it into the pile of that you're saving to use to clean, then they have use. But if you leave it on the floor, it could be you're throwing it out. It's not automatically garbage. It depends which pile you put it into. So Rabbi Eliezer says, well, first of all, if it's in the garbage, then everyone agrees that it's tahar. It's not a beged anymore. Hinicha bekufsa. But if you put it into the box, that means put it into the pile of the shmatas that you're saving. So divrei kol tamei, everyone agrees that that's going to be tamei. Well, you put it into a place, it's not so clear. This is, everyone has piles, Erev Pesach. Which way is this going? Is this staying in or is this going out? So you put it in this place where it's not 100% saving, it's not 100% thrown out. It's on a peg. You put it behind the door. Rabbi Eliezer says, Mid lo yizarku ba'ashba. The fact that you didn't throw it out, then daiti lavei. Then you're probably saving it. Umay karile shleiman amuchan. Oh, so 1 second. So now we have an issue. Rabbi Eliezer says that it's tamei. Rabbi Eliezer, his expression was bein min hamuchan, bein she'eino min hamuchan, whether it's designated or whether it's not designated. So why is he calling it not designated? We're talking about these cloths now that are put onto a peg or they're behind the door. He says, well, it's not designated, even though you're saving it, because you didn't put it into the box. If you would have put it into the box of cloths, then that would have been designated. But you didn't. You didn't put it in, so therefore it's it's considered not designated, but you're still saving it. Okay, so now I'll give you my theory on this. You could drop it. Rabbi Lezer was very wealthy. Rabbi Lezer ben Horkenes, he was a very wealthy. So they don't have to save the shmatas. If it happens to be in the house, so it's because he's saving it. You throw out anything that's not this. That's how it is. Rabbi Yeshua, on the other hand, Savar, midla yinicha bekufsa. If you didn't put it into the box, so bituli batle. So it's because you don't want it. For Rabbi Yeshua, you have to actually save it. This doesn't work so well. So why is it called prepared? So 1 second. He says everything is tar. It's the opposite. This throws you off. Rabbi Yeshua, we know, was very poor. My explanation isn't going to work for Rabbi Yeshua. Says that you have to save every cloth properly. You have to put it into the box to save it. If you didn't put it into the box, then it's probably because you're not saving it. I would have liked Rabbi Lezer to hold this, but it doesn't work. So Rabbi Yeshua Savar midlei nicha bekufsa betuli batli. No, you're not saving it, so therefore it's going to be tar. It's a shmata. My karle muchan. So why do you say prepared? We said, well, b'legabe ashpa muchanu. We said prepared means that regarding the garbage, it's prepared. In other words, it's relative. Relative to throwing it out, you didn't throw it out, but still, it's still tar because it's going to get thrown out. It's not considered a beged. Again, it's the size of a beged. It's smaller than the size of 3 by 3 tfachim. It's larger than 3 by 3 etzbos. Rabbi Akiva says it depends. Talab b'magad savik Rabbi Eliezer. If you hung it on a peg, then he holds that it's still tamei. It's off the ground. If you put it on the floor behind the door, so then savik Rabbi Yeshua, he says it's not a beged. Okay. So v'hadar bei Rabbi Akiva legabei de Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Akiva in the end changed his mind. And he goes like Rabbi Yeshua and he says everything is tar. Rav Hamnun is saying that our Mishnah, where it says, Psila sabeged shekipla b'leihivava Rabbi Lezer Eimer Tmeya, we're talking about such a type of garment. And Rabbi Akiva Amar Tayr, Rabbi Akiva says that it's tar. That's how he's explaining our Mishnah. Mimai, how do you know this? Amar Rava midiktani psila sabeged. It says the wick of a beged. My ear ditani psila sabeged, listening psila shel beged. The fact that the Mishnah says psila sabeged means that it still is a beged. And nevertheless, Rabbi Akiva says that it's tar, even if it's still a beged. That means he's going like Rabbi Yeshua, that says even though it's still a beged, it's tar. My ear, tani psila sabeged, listening psila shel beged. Say a wick that comes from a cloth. No, my psila sabeged, that dayin beged. That means that Rabbi Akiva is accepting Rabbi Yeshua's opinion. So how are we going to explain why you're allowed to light with it or you're not allowed to light with it? So we're going to go back to the explanation that we got from Rava. That says, Rabbi Eliezer just told that regarding if it's tar or not is one machlekes. Regarding if you have to singe it before Shabbos is another machlekes. Okay. I'm not sure why Tosfos needed to say that that changed the girsa to Rabba before. If later on Who comes in over here? This is Rava that said this. But and we're accepting the same thing as well. It could be Taisus is learning different than Rashi. I'm not sure. Okay. We have a new Mishnah. It says, L'yikav adam shveifer shel beya, v'yimalena shemen, v'yitnen al pi haner, b'shvil she'etei min ha'tefes. V'afilu shel cheres. Rabbi Yehuda Mater. What we're talking about here is adding a reservoir of oil to the candle that's going to drip into the oil lamp. And we have a concern that if you have an additional reservoir of oil, someone may use that reservoir of oil for other things, that additional oil. And the Gemara considers it that it's mechaba. If you take oil out of that, then you're actually extinguishing the fire earlier, because that oil is dripping into the candle. Now, the whole issue is because it's a separate reservoir. So it goes like this. Don't fill up a eggshell. Don't make a hole in the egg. It's like a little drip inside an eggshell. And fill it up with oil and put it on top of the candle so that it should drip into the oil lamp. And even if you make that shveiferes, that little reservoir out of cheres, where if it's cheres, cheres is earthenware, which becomes very gross to use for food. Nevertheless, and so there's less of a concern that you might take oil out of it. That's just something they use for a lamp, but not for eating once it's used once. So you shouldn't do that. Rabbi Yehuda Mater. Rabbi Yehuda says it's not a problem. Avalim chibra hayotzer mitchila muter. Mipnei shu keli. Mipnei shu kli echad. If it becomes, instead of a separate reservoir, if you make it into one candle holder, so then it's not a problem. One big lamp, because no one's going to stick their bread into the actual lamp and take it out. You thought there was a heter here because it wasn't actually attached. So that's when it becomes a bigger issue, when you think you have a way out of it, when you think it's mutter and it's really not. But if it's actually combined and it's one reservoir, if it's attached, we have a wick that goes into one and there's two reservoirs of oil. So then it's permissible to use, not to take out of. It's permissible to light a candle like that because no one's going to take out. Okay. Another interesting possibility is that even without making a reservoir that you're going to drip, the oil will drip into it, you can take a long wick and extend it over into another reservoir of oil, another bowl of oil. And that you shouldn't do either, because again, someone may not see it as connected and take oil out of that, and he'll be extinguishing early the fire that's on the other end of the second lamp. Okay. Utricha. It's necessary to tell me these different cases, to tell me the machlekas in all of them. The Ashmin and Shveiferes, because if it would tell me regarding Shveifer Shalbeya, regarding the egg, Bakamri Rabbanan. Over here, the Rabbanan say that it's prohibited. It's not disgusting, an egg, it's a regular eggshell. You might end up eating or taking some oil out. But if it would be earthenware, so there's no concern, because no one's going to stick their bread into that. It's like a flower pot. It's like it becomes gross to use. So maybe the Rabbanan would say that in that case Rabbi Yehuda is right. We don't have a concern that someone's going to stick his bread in the oil, that the candle is burning on the And the other one, not because of the candle, because it happens to be made out of earthenware. So we could have thought that it would be permissible. But we don't say that. The reason is because we still have a concern. People will eat it even in an earthenware. But if it would say cheres, just say the other way. Just the disgusting one. But how come Rabbi Yehuda? We would say maybe only over there Rabbi Yehuda allows it because he has no concern over it. But if it would be with an egg, maybe he would agree to the Rabbanan and say that it's asur. If it would give me both of those cases, over here Rabbi Yehuda says it's allowed mishum d'lei mifsak because it's close together. Avokara de mifsaka. But by the plate where it's separated. That's a concern. Maybe Rabbi Yehuda would agree to the Rabbanan that it's asur. People won't see it by the plate where you have the wick that's extending from one to the other. People might not see it as the same thing. And if it would only tell me about the plate, that over there, if over there it's asur. If over there it's asur, then by the other ones where it's close. By hikamer Rabbanan. Over there the Rabbanan say that it's asur. Aval bahani tarti. But by the other ones that are much closer to the lamp, you could say that maybe people would recognize that it's the lamp and you don't have to make a gzeira that they're going to put their bread into the oil because it's closer, it's more recognizable. Maybe they would agree to Rabbi Yehuda that it's permissible. There is no concern that someone's going to take oil out. So tzrichas, so both are necessary. Okay, let's leave it over here. We'll learn on Sunday. Bezos Hashem.